Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for my rational perspective on AC Milan 0, Chelsea 2. We do the double over AC Milan in the space of 6 days. A win, a comfortable win at the San Siro. Graham Potter makes it 4 wins out of 5 as Chelsea's head coach. In those 4 wins, we've scored 10 goals. We've only conceded 1. We've now got 3 clean sheets in a row. Very impressive, very encouraging. A lot of the things I spoke about on Saturday and against AC Milan last week continued in this game. Those trends of attacking movement, of players really looking confident on the ball, and Chelsea really overwhelming the opposition in a number of ways. As we did on Saturday, I think in the case of Wolves, it was about the quality of opposition and where they are currently at the moment. You know, we played them. With AC Milan, sure, the red card for Fikayo Tomori in the opening 20 minutes completely changes the complexion of that game. There's no point denying that. But at the same time, I think the way Chelsea dealt with the situation, particularly when it was getting quite heated, the way we sort of got ourselves from the right side again into that position to win a penalty was really impressive. And some of the individual performances have to be praised. We are still beating AC Milan, and I think we can go caveat until something goes wrong. But I feel, as I did on Saturday, you've just got to enjoy watching Chelsea at the moment and watching their play and feeling happy about the team and feeling infused that they're going in a positive direction. And I feel that the confidence of the team is quite clearly at a high point at the moment. And you can see it in the players. You can see, despite the rotation, despite other players having to come in, despite maybe losing players through injury, there seems to be a level that is sort of there at the moment, which is true. We've seen it a lot with new coaches, haven't we, at Chelsea? That honeymoon period is absolutely real, or at least looks consistent. I think the challenge for Graham Potter is going to be beyond this honeymoon period, as has been the problem that I think a lot of Chelsea coaches have struggled with, is once you get past that honeymoon period, how do you build sustainable sort of success and consistency on the pitch? But we're still in that early phase, and from what we're seeing at the moment, I've kept on using this word encouraging. It may sound boring. I think that's the best way to describe it. And obviously the wins individually, particularly beating AC Milan away from home at the San Siro, an historic European ground, a historic ground in world football, those things still have to mean something despite all the caveats we throw out. Let's get into the team lineup. I was not too stunned to see a very similar team to the one that Potter brought out for the game last week against AC Milan, the 3-4-3. 2 changes, obviously. Trevor Chalobah in for Wesley Fofana, but I was a little bit surprised that instead of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who did come on later in the game today, Jorginho started, and obviously he had a big hand in the first goal, and I think all round had a really good night, an enjoyable night in Milan, absolutely. Considering how well it worked against AC Milan, and particularly even before the red card happened, I was encouraged by sort of the way Milan were quite clearly pressing high up onto Chelsea, and you could see if Chelsea were able to exploit that space consistently, there were going to be ways for Chelsea to get in on goal. Particularly with the way we rotated out wide, Mason Mount and Reece James down that right side, which you could argue two of Chelsea's best players, maybe Chelsea's 2 best players, how dangerous they can be on that side. And of course they connected for the first goal, or the penalty, obviously. I feel sorry for Fikayo Tomori, because obviously this would have been a massive week for him personally. He scored against Juventus at the weekend in a massive win for AC Milan. So he would have been coming into this game at the San Siro with a lot of confidence, and quite clearly he said as much in the media. You know, this is a big thing for him, playing against his old club where he came through the academy. Maybe that feeling of injustice, or just he wanted to do more at Chelsea, didn't happen, and wants to prove himself. And I'm sure from an England perspective, probably knows that there would have been a lot of eyes on him tonight. I think by the letter of the law, it is a red card. That's what a lot of the analysis is going towards. And if you're just being cold about it, it probably is a red card. It was just a little bit of a shock at the time, because it was absolutely a penalty, and he was one-on-one with the keeper. I found it actually quite refreshing, because I'm sure a lot of the analysis will be about officiating and criticising, and you won't get a lot of praise on officiating on this channel, to be honest. It was quite refreshing to see a player not go down, but still get the foul, still win the foul. And that's something that is such a big frustration for me in football, where you don't see that too often. And obviously it benefited Chelsea. It changes the game. Jorginho steps up. He changed up his run again. went back to the classic hop and skip. You quite clearly see it meant a lot to Jorginho in a stadium he only played in a couple of weeks ago against England for Italy. And this was maybe quite a big night for him. And, he has come out the team in a couple of games. He's faced some criticism. I think this was the perfect platform for him tonight to really show his best qualities, and it got Chelsea up and running. And what I liked was a bit like in that second half against AC Milan, when Chelsea smelt blood, they went for it. And some of the movement, particularly of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Raheem Sterling, I think the way both of them interchanged positions, how they also were both involved in the second goal, really hurting AC Milan. And I felt Chelsea, mainly through Mason Mount again, who I felt was man of the match on Saturday. He was outstanding in that first half. He really was. I think he deserved the goal, and he nearly got one later on. He has a hand in the penalty, just some of his movements. And Chelsea, I think Kovacic too, who was involved in the second goal. Chelsea were just really good at exploiting the space between Milan's backline and their midfield. There was kind of this gap that was opening up, and whether it was switching the ball left to right and very much looking for Aubameyang as that focal point, who then could switch and kind of pull out a Milan defender, open up space elsewhere, then we try and get the ball out to Reece James. It's a classic Chelsea play that we were doing under Thomas Tuchel, to be honest, and then trying to cut the ball back for someone. I just felt the way we went for that second goal, weren't kind of cautious, was really impressive. It was. And the second goal itself it reminds me a lot of what Brighton were doing so well, kind of really going through the middle of teams. Nice one-touch football. Kovacic, brilliant pass into Mount, a lovely flick from Mount. And Sterling obviously was going for it, but I just like the way Aubameyang just pushes him to the side and was just like striker instincts. No, I'm scoring this goal. For Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, it's now 3-3 for him in a Chelsea shirt. 3-5 collectively with all of his Chelsea appearances. I said it, last week when he was scoring, it's such a big thing. It's a transformative thing to have a striker putting the ball in the back of the net consistently. It's a simple thing, but as we know at Chelsea, it's not been that consistent. And, every time he scores a goal like that and Chelsea win games, that the value of what he's offering for Chelsea just goes up and up compared to, I think, what a lot of our sort of expectations of the transfer, or at least our fears around the transfer. It's early days with Aubameyang, but he is showing just the quality and experience that I think you would have absolutely dreamed he would have brought to this side. And his movement too, I think his all-round movement and his involvement at times just in allowing space for others, really pulling that defence apart. It's all those things you want from a striker, and I think Aubameyang is applying himself well. He looks confident. I think the rest did him well over the weekend. And when you've got Royer scoring goals, when you've got Havertz scoring goals, it just creates that nice environment where players are having to push themselves, and you aren't just sat looking at an attack going, where the hell is this productivity going to come from? So that's really positive. I just want to say as well, it was Jorginho's goal today was on his 200th appearance for Chelsea. And another stat here, I believe I got this from Chelsea Chat, a good account on Twitter. Jorginho is now joint third with Eden Hazard with the most goals for Chelsea from the penalty spot. I mean, no one's getting close to Frank. I mean, there's no point trying, to be honest, at this point, but that's a very impressive thing for Jorginho to have. And Mason Mount is now 3 assists in 2 games. I believe all of those assists were open play, if you believe in that stuff. But just shows you Mount, once again, he's reacted to the criticism, he's responded, he's come out the other end looking a really good player again, and looks like an essential one for Graham Potter. He's the only him and Kepa have started all of the games under Graham Potter so far, and I think that says a lot about how much he means to Chelsea, and I think we've known this for a very long time. We go into the second half. I mean, it was kind of a bit of a dead affair. I mean, Conor Gallagher, it would have been lovely for him to score at the San Siro. Just felt maybe a little bit more composure, maybe looking up a bit more there, could have chipped the keeper. I think the big talking point from the second half, unfortunately, and it just seems to be the typical thing, Chelsea cannot be a big Italian team without losing a really important player. Reece James, I mean, fingers crossed that it's not the worst. I guess the big thing for Reece is that he walked off the pitch, and compared to, say, Fofana, compared to Chilwell last year, he didn't need as much assistance, but that's the best thing. I mean, it just, the way his sort of knee, it looked like locked or sort of bent, it's not very encouraging, and it'd be such a shame because Reece he's not only a really important player for Chelsea, but he's coming into form where I feel like if he stays fit, his numbers are just going to continue. I think his importance to his Chelsea team is only going to rise. fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, because losing Fofana is a massive blow. Losing James as well would be a massive dent, I think, for Graham Potter. Listen, I think Azpilicueta sort of applied himself really well at the weekend, and I think the way he, especially in the second half, he came on, I think, for Reece James and did a lovely little cutback again. It's not that we've got no one in that side of it, it's a different level with Reece and Aspi for me. If you're talking about wing backs and even right back, Chelsea don't have a ton of options in that area. So fingers crossed that Reece is okay. Those are my thoughts on the game. I think Graham Potter, this is been a massive, over a week now for him as Chelsea's head coach. In terms of the group, really nice that Zagreb got that equaliser against Salzburg. Chelsea are now top of Group A heading into match day 5. I believe Salzburg is the next game, and I feel like if we win that game, we are putting ourselves very, very close, if not there, in terms of Champions League qualification and getting through to the knockout stages. And considering where we were after that Salzburg game, it's really nice to see the development in the team, how some of those small things that we saw in that first game against Salzburg have improved. We are taking chances, we are creating good opportunities, players that you want to be productive are being productive, and defensively too. I think the solidity throughout a lot of players at the moment, whether it be Trevor Chalobah coming in, another clean sheet for him, another win for him in Chelsea's back three. Thiago Silva, of course, putting a really good challenge in that second half. Kepa Arrizabalaga, another clean sheet for him. Koulibaly, I thought, had some really good moments throughout the half as well. You're just going through the team, and it's just positive to look at a lot of players. And it was the one thing, unfortunately, in the last weeks of Tuchel where we were looking at majority of players underperforming. It's flipped now, as we see so quickly in football, where a majority of players are performing well, which is a really good sign. Let me know your opinions on the game. It's a massive win at the San Siro. Lovely to be able to reflect on it, and we will do in the coming days. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit the like button, follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.